what you put in your body. In 2014, a couple returned to their home to find it trashed in baffling ways. There was lotion all over the door handles, all of their shoes had had their soles ripped off of them, and someone had dumped an entire can of paint all over the toilet. Despite the obvious break-in, the police come and can't find any evidence of theft, so they leave thinking the couple's not in danger anymore. That night, the couple hears scratching underneath their bed and what sounds like a crying animal. Not wanting to find out what it was, they leave and call the cops, who come right back and start investigating the house, and they make a startling discovery in their bedroom. Wedged underneath the couple's bed was this 90-pound tiny little woman carrying a huge butcher's knife and a hypodermic needle. As they're taking this crazy lady away in handcuffs, one of the officers comes over to the couple and is like, so she was high on meth, and for at least 2 hours, she had been burrowing a hole in the underside of your mattress with that knife to get to you.
This is why you should always remember your parents' phone number. A man named Liam met a girl named Ava. The two fell in love in high school and decided to get married. They worked every day in order to save up for a house, but things changed when Ava became pregnant. They were both shocked to find out that Ava was pregnant since they were both young and it wasn't planned. 9 months later, Ava gave birth to a little girl named Casey. A couple years go by, Liam and Ava are constantly arguing and begin to talk about divorce. So the two sat down together and formed a plan to fix their relationship. One day, Casey goes missing. After searching for a couple years, there was no luck in finding Casey. Ava and Liam begin to move on and start life over. 15 years later, Ava and Liam are sitting on the couch when suddenly Liam's phone rings. Liam answers the phone and says hello, and then his face sinks. Ava says, "Who is it?" Liam looks at her terrified and says, "It's Casey." Ava looks at Liam and says, "How? I thought you killed her to spend more time with me."
When I was 16 years old, my dad almost shot me. Here's the story. It was the last summer night before junior year, so naturally, I was at a friend's house partying. I told my dad that I was at my best friend's house. I wasn't. But I was actually at my friend's house with my friend group. They ran out of alcohol, and the only person who had alcohol was me. In my room at home. My dad is a very light sleeper and he's also kind of strict. So it took them about an hour to convince me to drive all the way back to my house, sneak in my house, and steal my alcohol and leave. I say sneak in because I wouldn't want to wake up my dad and then have him question me why I'm home and then look through my bag. 4 of my friends and I got in my car and we drove to my house. We parked outside my house with no headlights on, no nothing. My friend Zach and I went to the back of my house to sneak into the window that is always open. And the rest of my friends stayed in the car. The problem with the window is that it's super squeaky. We sat there trying to open the window for 5 minutes, very slowly so it wouldn't make any noise. So we finally get the window halfway open so that I can fit my body through it. Half of my body is out the window and the other half is swung over into my family room. I am so close to getting inside and then my dad wakes up and I hear, "Who's there?" Followed by a light for part 2. Here's part 2 of me almost getting shot. So once I heard the I was like, shit! My initial reaction was just to forget everything, jump out the window and run. My friend Zach, who was with me, is literally a national track star. So he starts running too, but he's running at like 50 miles an hour and I'm running at like 2 miles an hour. And we just jump in my car. We are scared out of our minds and we tell my friends what just happened, but then one of my friends is missing from my car. He really needed to pee and we parked outside my neighbor's house, who is an FBI agent, and took a piss on his tree. But that's beside the point. Once I was sitting in the car, I started actually thinking, and I was like, oh my god, I left the window open. Yes, he didn't catch me, but the window was still open. So I was like, I have no other option but to go fix this. So I run up to my house and I go through my garage door. My garage door makes a lot of noise, so that's really good. And I know my dad's awake with a gun and everything. And so I yell out, I'm like, "Dad?" Pretending like I don't know what's going on. And he goes, "Maddie, oh my god, I almost shot you in the face." And I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Dad. Like for part 3. 3 of me almost getting shot in the face. So I played it off really well, and my dad was also in that sleepy mind, so he wasn't really thinking straight. So I guess that all the noises that I made previously from the window, he just thought that they were normal noises that I was making in the kitchen or something. And I was just like, "Dad, what are you doing?" While he's still holding the gun. And naturally he was like, "What are you doing home?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot my medication. Can't live without that." And he just believed me and I went upstairs and grabbed everything. He was just so tired he didn't even think to check my bag or anything. Lucky for me because there was a lot of stuff in there. I said goodnight and I waited for him to go into his room. And then I just slammed the window shut. He literally never knew. I run to my car, get in the car with my friends, we go back to his house and we have a fun night. I go home the next morning and then he's like, "What was wrong with you last night? Were you on drugs or something?" Personally, I don't do drugs. I also actually don't drink. But he still asked me if I was high or on something the night before because I was acting really weird because I was really nervous. To recap, yes, I was very nervous because my dad was holding a gun right in front of my face. And that is the story of how my dad almost shot me.
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture, and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out, and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in, and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose.